with me on Twitter, and my @ is like IG. And a little bit about our topic. I was trying to prepare a presentation, but it went very bad. I wasn't able to prepare it, but then, uh, but then again, I have a very good application in my hand that I can show you guys and talk to you about it. So, at the very beginning of it, what we are going to talk about is APIs. So, what is an API and why do you need one? Let's begin with that. So, if you look if you look at any website, and I will show you guys. So, if this let's start with a more well-known example, Google. Okay. So, here when you load Google, you can see that in the networks tab, it is loading many things, all of this content. But as soon as you go and start typing, see in the networks tab, let's just go to fetch this and with this thing. Yeah, yeah. So if you see, as I typed GOO in the network tab, you can see that it made three different calls: one for G, one for GO, and then for GOO. And if you see each time, it has gotten some data and the reply. So, and you see Google Translate, Google. Let's let's go again and see G. You can see that the first one is Google, and the second one is Google Translate, and the third is Gmail. So this is nothing but exactly whatever the data, like what we have typed, it went and sent a request of that data to some server, and then some server sent related data again, and this is what this is showing here. So that's what happens basically every time you open up a website or you try to load anything. So if you go and look at Reddit, it will happen again, same thing. It loads the website, and then for the data, it calls his server, like this guy has loaded the homepage, and now we need some data to show to this guy. So what are we going to show? And that's how it receives all of the data. So that is a very basic example of an API. So let's begin with uh, a little simple diagram of how things look. So if the notepad will start. Okay. Yes. So draw and it, it, so here suppose you are something and you want to access all of the tweets. How does the whole communication happen? How does your phone get all of the tweets? So this phone, obviously this tweets data is stored somewhere in a database. Yes, but your phone directly doesn't connect with the database, because if you allow clients or people using your application to directly connect with your database, it's a big security risk, because all of the uh, you can guess why you would not allow anyone to access your database directly. First of all, they have access to everything. Like they can read anything in this paper. So in your database, you might have some data which you do not want your customers to see, or something private. You can't allow that, right? Uh, Second of all, they can mutate it however they want because they have direct access to your database. So because of that reason, uh, we generally have something in the middle uh, to control the flow of data, and this is called an API server. So what is this? Basically, when you load your application, say Twitter, your phone sends a request, and rather than going to the database itself, so this is a database. I should make it a little bit round. Yeah, rather than going to the database itself, it goes to the API server, and the API server first checks whether you are signed in or not. So it checks your authentication, and then checks whether you.
I think that Ganesh is facing some technical issues. So till then, wait, guys.
Am I back? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay. So sorry, something happened to my internet and I got disconnected for a few seconds. That's why I wasn't able to. So, going back to the topic again, let me share my screen again. Yeah. So, what happens is your phone sends a request to the API server. This API server checks whether you are eligible to see the request, whether it has the data that you are requesting or not. And if it has and you are eligible to see the data, it asks for it from the DB. The database gives it to the API server, and then the API server gives it back to your phone. So what this enables is, whenever you are trying to access something, you don't actually go to the database itself. You go to something called an API server, and it handles the rest of it. So what are the benefits of it? First of all, you get to check whether the person trying to access the resource is eligible or not. So all the login things which you have in all of the applications, it is enabled because of that. And you are able to check whether the person who was trying to access has the uh, what do you say, uh, it has the eligibility of viewing the resource or not. So if it has, it gets the access to it. If it doesn't have, it doesn't get access to it. So that is why API servers are there, and that is how all of the systems work generally. So how do you make these API servers? These API servers are generally HTTP backed. So like in a website, if you go and visit, if you go and visit some website, say twitter.com. So what it does, it goes to the server and gets the file which is index.html and then shows it on your device. So that is what is happening, right? And that similar things happens on API. So whenever you make a request, let's just start with making one. So you can make APIs with any language you want, but the easiest one is Node.js. Just give me a second. So yes, so you can make REST APIs with almost anything, but the best way of making them is through Node.js. So that is the easiest language that you can get started with because you can code in JavaScript, and JavaScript is not a very simple language for anyone to learn. So I would suggest you to try Node.js. And after in Node.js, how things work is you have different packages which you can install in an application, and with those applications, with those packages, you can make any type of different applications that you want. And yeah, with those packages, you can build any type of an application that you want. And you can find these packages at npmjs.com. It's like a repository for all of the JavaScript and TypeScript packages. And the best package to create a REST API is Express.js. So you can go to Express.js, you can search Express and you will get the package details over here. Express.js package. Yep, minimalistic web framework for Node.js. So you can create other applications for it. So that is our tool stack that we are going to use, and let's get started with that project. So first of all, let me go to a empty directory. So I have all of my. By the way, while we are doing it, if there are any questions in the chat and they are asking for it, you can go ahead and ask them, and then I can answer them. So
Currently, there are no questions, Ganesh.
okay, okay. So let's make a directory name here cd into that, open up code project, and then and when you open up this project, when you open up this folder, you can see that it is empty. For every Node.js application, you need to create a package.json, and you can create that with npm in it. And it will ask you some questions like what should be the project name and some things. I will take a second. Yeah. So it will ask you questions like what should be your package name, it will be implementation, what should be the version. Let's just keep everything into default. So keep everything default. And then when you are done with it, Oh, we just aborted it at the very end. This is what we just so we'll connect with that. So what you do with Dash is that you just automatically give yes to all of the questions that it had asked before. So it will create something similar like what it had created. And if you see this type of pages, it will be similar to what is shown. Yep, that is it. Now,
Sorry to interrupt, Ganesh, but there's a disturbance from your end.
okay, okay, okay. Let me just make it a little change. Is this better?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Okay, okay. So once you have this package.json ready, you can basically start this project. So if you see, this project has a main file of index.js, and currently it doesn't have any script. Let's give it a start script, start, and then whenever we run this script, we need to run index.js. So now, if you just hold it up, hello world, and that is like a print statement in Python. So we have that thing ready. We save this file, and we can do npm start, and it will what it will do is node index.json. So do let's do npm start, and we can see that it has printed hello world. So our application is ready, and so our project is ready. We have our thing ready, and then let's start with our application. So what what you see in this application is whenever we make any change, hello world, this is something new, we will have to go again and then do npm start again, and it will run the application. uh, yeah, so this is a little bit slow. So in javascript world, what we use is called a tool, node nodemon. So what happens with nodemon is, whenever you make a change to some file, it it basically waits for you to make some changes, and as soon as you make some changes, it will rerun the application, so you don't have to do it again and again. So you can install this package with node install, save them. uh, sorry, npm install. That will automatically install nodemon, and then afterwards, as we earlier discussed, after installing nodemon, we will need express in order to make our application. And also, because I like to use a little bit of latest version of JavaScript, we will need to install something which is known as ESM. So ESM basically enables us to use a newer version of JavaScript in our application. So we will install that as well. Yep, and we have that thing ready. Let's install Express. Yep, now that we have everything ready, we can start writing our first Express application. So writing an Express application is very easy. First, you have to import Express from the package which is known as Express, and you have to make an application by calling Express itself. You often need a port on which the application will run. So you make process.n dot port or 3000. What this will do is check if your environment has a variable named port, and if it has, it will use that, or if it doesn't have, it will use 3000. So in development, you use some sort of a similar strategy. So in development, generally you have a fixed code that you want to run, and it is not enclosed to everyone, like which port on it is going to run. So they generally store it in an environment variable, and it is not disclosed to everyone, and they use it like that. And after you have an app and you have a port, you can app.listen on that port, and once you start listening, you can write a console message that the app has started on port that, and the we need to show a home route, and every request that comes in to the Express application, it takes two parameters. Uh, so as I earlier mentioned, the client which is trying to access some resource, it makes a request to the API server. So since we are making this application, we need to make a way so that those requests can be handled. So this app.get, at the first time, we are making it so that it can handle the base case, like someone accesses our API at the base, like the root. And what we do is res.send hello world. What we do that, and if we run our application now, yeah, before that, since we installed NodeMon, we need to change our start query a little bit. Just add NodeMon execute node, and then our newer package ESM. And then let's start. Thinking start. See that the NodeMon has started. The app has started on port 3000. So if we go to our browser and go to localhost 2000, sorry, this is HTTPS. We just go to HTTP. You can see that we are receiving a hello world. So this application, sorry, this hello world is being passed on to that. We can also make a different route. dot post, and we do a similar request dot response dot send. Hello world from post request. So if you see our browser, when the first request that we made, and we do inspect element like every time, uh, if we do inspect element like every time, and we just run this request again, and we open the network tab, and we do all, and we see when it accesses the data, it calls localhost, and it gives a response as hello world. So on the root node, if you see localhost dot 3000, and then there is a slash. There is a slash. So that is the root node, and the root node it gives directly it's hello world. Now this is like a simple text, but generally we send what is known as a JSON. So what is a JSON? This is some sort of a body like this, and when we load this application again, and if we start the investigation again, and then we reload this page, you can see that message was shown, but it is not a normal text message. It is colon message hello world. So this is like JSON encoded, and if you see again, so whenever making APIs, we generally don't send raw text, we send JSON. So you might be thinking, like why we have two routes, hello world from post request, and how do we access it? So generally speaking, whenever your browser is accessing any request, it automatically sends only get requests. So when you are reading a web page, it sends a get request to everything. So it is automatically, even though the route is same, it is accessing only this get request. Now for making a post request, you can use any different application, or you can write your own post request. So if I have this get normal request, and if I just use get, you can see that it returns only hello world. But if I go and put a post message, it sends me a hello world from post message, post request. That is why different routes are used. So in the context, like suppose if we are making Twitter and you want to read all tweets, you will make a request to tweets and make a get request. So it will send all of that data. And when you want to write a tweet, you will send the same request to tweets, but this time this will be a post request. And with the post request, you will send some data in, so that the server will read it, and make and give you a response that yes, that tweet was created and you did a successful job. So let's see an example of it. Now that we have cleared why different routes are used, and that is how there are different app methods like app.get, app.post, app.patch. Patch is used for updating some data. Options request, whenever you request options on a route, it basically sends all of the different supported methods for that route. If you use there is also a delete request. Yeah, when you use delete request, this is used for deleting some content. So let's make a basic Twitter API like tweet, and then create a tweet, .js. Yep. Let's again import our express. Import express. Let's create a router. Since we are not creating an application, like application is already created here, we just need to route. So we will get a router and we can export this thing. We can use this route over here. Import this first. Import API from tweet.js. Once you have that, you can use it but use at the route of tweet and handler would be Twitter API. Now once you have that, you can make routes here as well. So router.get, and again let's make a request, a handler at the base root and respond.send welcome to Twitter API. And once we have that thing, we can check it. So earlier we did a get request to localhost 3000, right? And when we did that, we received a hello world. Now we have another route known as Twitter. We can go there and send a get request. Sorry, it's not Twitter, I guess. It's just Twitter. Sorry, let's change it to Twitter. Let's change it to Twitter. And then when we make the request again, don't use. I think we are using the same route, right? Yep, we are using the same route. Spelling mistake is not a spelling mistake. Some reason. Oh, did we import this thing over here? Twitter API. Yes, import it. Import this thing. Let's move it a little bit below. Then we do it again. Yep, you see, welcome to Twitter API. So when we do it on the normal path, it just says hello world, and when we do it to Twitter, it says welcome to the Twitter API. So now we have a different module from where we can send and receive Twitter data. So now let's create a file named as data.js. Let's have some tweets data here. So let's make a list. Tweet hello world by keep it distant 6 created on 2038 and likes 120 likes. Yep. Let's make this thing and let's export this. And in our tweet, let's import our data layer from data, and whenever we make a get request to tweets, let's send this tweet data. So let's make and since we have that thing ready, let's make a get request to Twitter. And you see that we get the response of the data from the server. So we have the same thing in a data over here, and we receive the same thing over here as a response. Now we can add some more things like post, add, tweet. It takes a tweet, and then tweets, tweets dot push the tweet. So this will basically add the tweet to the list. Let's also export this, and in our tweet.js, let's make a route to create a tweet. Request response. Yeah, before getting all of the data, it's important that Express doesn't support the JSON data by default. So if you want to import JSON data, you need to have something called as app.use express.json embedded. So once you have that, now you can read JSON from here. So request body. If you do that, post request data, it is that, and we can just send it back again just to check whether it is working or not. So when we do that, and let's make a post request. So post tweet, post tweet, a new tweet by someone, and when we make it, okay, so now it is changed to Twitter. Yep, you can see that this is the data which is being received by the server in here, and we are just sending that data back again. But we don't want to do that. We want to add it to our tweets. So what we will do is data dot add tweet, and then just use the request data, and instead of sending JSON, we will send a message that yep, it was created. So while sending a message body is important, it is also important that you send correct response messages. So suppose if you are visiting some site and you randomly visit something which is not there. So if you see google.com, something weird, you will see that it will give you 404. So this 404 is nothing but that this request was not found. This is similar in our API. Like if we try to request something which is not there, so Twitter, let's try to access LinkedIn, if we try to access that, it will give us a 404 that this request was not found. So it is necessary to send correct responses whenever you are making something. So if you see, when we make this Twitter request with some data, it sends 201. So what 201 means is that yes, the request was successful, as well as the server has created something for you. So it sends a created message. And if we now go to our get tweets and try to get tweets, we'll see that we have two tweets here now. One which is directly from data and one which we have sent here. So let's create one more new another tweet. So the likes, it has 10 likes. And if we send that, you'll see that it again sends 201 created. And if we try to get tweets again, you'll see that it now has 3 tweets. So that is how APIs work. When you make a post request to some route, uh, it creates something. When you make a get request to some route, you get the data. If you make a delete request to some route with some data, it will delete the thing that you want to delete. And that is how basically APIs work. If you want to take your hand and work with some good APIs, there are a few resources that I would like to share, like this NASA Open APIs. This now NASA Open APIs has all of the data which NASA makes open for everyone to use. You can get yourself registered over here, and it has a lot of cool applications like picture of the day, which are asteroids which are near Earth, some data about Earth, like imagery, a great stuff. After that, you can use SpaceX API. It has all of the space data, all of the rocket launches data of SpaceX. So, however many launches that were made by SpaceX, you can get all of the data from SpaceX API. Similar to this, you can search for many APIs, and you can access, create data, and hopefully build one another day if you are able to understand this session. So
Hey Ganesh, it was great learning. There are certain questions that we have curated and our participants would like to know. So if we can take those.
yep, yep, I was going to go over there only. So
Okay,
all of
okay.
the content that I
Well,
had in
before
mind
that,
is
it
done.
was a really good session of hands-on demo, and I learned a lot from it. And I hope the same was for all the participants. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for such good words, and I was very happy to do that.
Um, Rena, maybe you can start with the questions that we have.
Okay, Shaman. If anyone has any doubts, please post there in the chat box. We can take first doubts, then from common doubts.
Rena, currently we don't have any such question. You can start with your questions.
So, sir, can you first please guide us that how can we make best use of APIs in a hackathon?
So, suppose if you are trying to make a project, suppose if you are trying to make a shopping application, so an e-commerce application, you will have all of the product data, right? Uh, and you want to show that product data to the customer. So you will make a route named product, and whenever someone accesses that route, you will send all of the data to the consumer. Uh, the best way of using an API is you should know what all data that you want to send to the customer. Like, obviously, reading all of the products data will be allowed because it's a customer side application, but you will not allow creation of data through that API, right? So first make sure whatever features that you want, like if you want to just show data, then there should only be get requests. If you want to enable creating things, you should have post requests. Make a schema of all of the things that you want to do, and then make routes, and then create your whole application. I hope that answers that question. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, we have one question in the chat box. Async await functions. What are async await functions?
Yeah, so when you are connecting with a database, obviously, whenever you make a request, it will not be directly accessible to you. So if you request a product data of ID 1, the database will first search whether it has the data. If it has, then it will return to you. So all of this doesn't happen synchronously. Like when you send a request and you get that data automatically. You send a request, the server processes it, tries to find whether it has the data or not, and then sends it back. So this all takes some time, and you cannot just wait there whenever this whole thing is happening. So what you use at that place is async await. So async is like asynchronous. So you start a function, you make a request, and you let that process handle the request while your application does something else. So जब तक वो डेटा आ रहा है, आपका प्रोसेस रुकता नहीं है, आपका प्रोसेस चालू रहता है। और वो कोई और रिक्वेस्ट आ गया तो वो भी उसको भी लेगा, उसका भी रिक्वेस्ट भेज देगा। और जैसे ही डेटाबेस से whenever the database sends the data back, then you do all of the remaining steps that you have in your API. So that is where async and await are used. async फंक्शन डिक्लेरेशन के ऊपर होता है। सो अगर ये फंक्शन बनाते समय, जैसे कि मैंने यहाँ पे फंक्शंस बनाए, यहाँ पे मैंने फंक्शंस बनाए, समझो इस फंक्शन के अंदर अगर मुझे डेटाबेस पे कॉल करना है तो मैं ऐसा कॉल करूँगा await कॉल टू डेटाबेस कुछ डेटा के साथ। लेकिन ये जो अवेट फंक्शन होता है ये नॉर्मली हर फंक्शन के अंदर अलाउड नहीं होता, इसके लिए आपको फंक्शन असिंक बनाना पड़ता है। तो ये उस चीज़ का फर्क है। अगर आपका कोई फंक्शन है जिसको समय लगता है तो उसके लिए आपको अवेट यूज़ करना पड़ेगा, और अगर आप अवेट अपने फंक्शन के अंदर यूज़ कर रहे हो तो आपको अपने फंक्शन को असिंक्रोनस डिक्लेयर करना पड़ेगा कि भाई इसको टाइम लगेगा, इसके लिए रुको मत। I hope that thing was clear.
Yes, that was a very easy explanation of a very tough topic.
Yes.
Sir, what are the common pitfalls that usually be encountered while using APIs and deploying them? Like and how to avoid those?
So what common mistakes I see people making is, like this tweet application that we just made. So you see, our routing was very simple. Like we had a home route, and we had get and post requests, and then we had this tweets route, and we had a get and post request. So यहाँ पे आपने देखा मैंने कोई भी वर्ब का नाम ले लिया है, जैसे कि गेट के लिए गेट डेटा, फिर पुट डेटा। Don't ever do that. Never use verbs in your routes. Always use nouns. Like what data are you using? So this thing is like a home route, So we don't have any verb over here. And then whenever you are working with some tweet, so you have a tweet route, and in that you have different methods like get method for reading that data, post method for creating that data, delete method for deleting that data. So that is what I think like most people do wrong. So they will have a route known as slash tweet, and then they will have slash create, slash delete, slash get. It makes ये जो पूरा गेट एंड पोस्ट का ये जो पूरा बेनिफिट है ये पूरा चला जाता है जब तुम अलग अलग बिना मतलब के राउट्स बनाने लगते हो. सो डोंट डू दैट. I hope that answers that.
Okay, so sir, can you please suggest some coolest tips to be consistent in learning?
So, you know, there is not a very good way with which
You
you
are
can
audible.
be. Yes, yes, you are audible. So there is not a good way which I can give you to be consistent. To be consistent, you have to be motivated. You first of all, what I would suggest, what works for me is get up early. So when you have more time in your hand, you will feel empty. Like, what do I do? This time is empty. You will either waste it, you know, play video games or watch Netflix. If you don't do that, you will automatically like to work at something, right? So the first major important topic is create a time slot which is empty and don't use it for Netflix or something else. Just keep it empty. So when you keep it empty, your brain will automatically think like, this is empty, we should do something important, productive, and it will think about something that you wanted to do, and subconsciously वो बोलेगा कि ये अपने को करना चाहिए. कर मेरे लिए ऐसा बहुत करता है. अगर मैं 15-20 मिनट में बैठ जाऊँ तो मेरे दिमाग को सारी बेकार की चीजें याद आने लग जाती है कि ये तुमने नहीं किया, वो तुमने नहीं किया, एंड देन आई गेट टू वर्क. Don't use it on these things. Like, don't Netflix whole day. Let your brain think.
Sir, can you please share your experience in another company or an intern? Like we can learn from it. Any of the experience.
You know, um, I don't have many work experience. I just worked for Microsoft as a contractor. It was like an external employee. वहाँ पे मुझे इतना ज़्यादा प्रेशर नहीं था. वो लोग मुझे सिर्फ कुछ चीज़ें बनाने को बोल देते थे, मैं बना देता था और खत्म हो जाता था. And then I worked as a UI engineer. So at Java, it was also a similar experience. They give me a task, and then I am supposed to do that. The main learning happens when you know try to do something unique. So suppose if you have a task at hand and you try to do it in a better way. So जब तुम एक ही चीज 50 बार करते रहते हो, तो जैसे कि when when I not had a job, I used to make very write very bad codes. Like, uh, I didn't used to think about what others might do when they read about my code. So when I started working, I had to think about that. So if you are studying, always think about what others might feel when looking at your code. So इसलिए अपन open source को इतना ज़्यादा hype देते हैं. Because what you do in open source is like you have some code, someone else takes it, reads it, and tries to improve it. So अगर आपका कोड कोई लेके उसको improve कर पा रहा है, तो ये आपके लिए बहुत बड़ी प्लस पॉइंट है, क्योंकि मतलब आपका लिखा हुआ चीज़ किसी को समझ में आया और उसने उसको इम्प्रूव करने की कोशिश की। ज़्यादातर लोगों को मैंने जॉब पे ही यही परेशान होते हुए देखा है कि वो जो लिखते हैं वो किसी और को समझ में नहीं आता, और उनको भी थोड़ी देर के बाद नहीं समझ में आता है। तो ऐसा मत करो, कोड लिखते टाइम थोड़ा सा ध्यान दो, कमेंट्स लिखा करो, समझ में आएगा अपने आप को, तुम अगली बार अच्छे से लिखो। राइट मेंटेनेबल कोड।
Okay, sir. So we have one more question in the chat box. Can you give some good backend projects for students using APIs?
Okay, for good backend projects for making APIs, obviously, I don't have anything in mind. You can make e-commerce applications. You can make GitHub से बहुत सारा डेटा मिलता है. So if you look at GitHub API, सारा repository का डेटा मिल जाएगा. You can show all of the latest trending repositories in a cool manner in some website. You can use API for that. नासा, मैंने अभी आपको बताया नासा के APIs बहुत सारे अवेलेबल है. तो उसके अंदर और एक इमेजेस करके API है. तो वो API यूज़ करके आप बहुत सारे स्पेस के अलग अलग फोटोज दिखा सकते हो और उसका एक एप्लीकेशन बना सकते हो. दिस इज ऑल आई हैव इन माइंड राइट नाउ.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for this very amazing session and providing us with so much of information. It is very useful to us. Like we have learned various things, and thank you so much for being here with us.
I was very happy to do this with you guys, and you guys have been an amazing crowd. So, bye guys. I hope everything is done here, and I hope we get to meet again sometime soon. Bye guys. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot for your time, sir.
Guys, please to fill the feedback form. Link is in the chat box.
Also, for the time delay that has happened, we regret the inconvenience that has been over there. So sorry, everyone, and stay tuned for the upcoming sessions that we would be having. Thank you, everyone.